The police officer's voice on the phone was professional but gentle, the kind of tone they train you to use when delivering life-shattering news. "Mr. Harrison, this is Officer Martinez from the Denver Police Department. I'm calling about your wife, Sarah Harrison. There's been an accident." My hand gripped the phone tighter. "What kind of accident?" "A car crash on Interstate 25, near the exit 210 interchange. Mr. Harrison, I'm very sorry to tell you this, but your wife didn't survive. The vehicle went off the bridge. We need you to come to Denver General to identify the body." The world stopped. Everything around me, my office, the blueprints on my desk, the sound of construction from the site below, all of it faded into a distant hum. Sarah, my wife of 8 years, gone. That's not possible, I heard myself say. She was supposed to be at a client meeting. She texted me 2 hours ago. "I understand this is difficult, Mr. Harrison, but we need you to come as soon as you can." My name is David Harrison, by the way, 39 years old, co-owner of Harrison and Blake Construction, one of Denver's fastest-growing commercial development firms. My business partner, Marcus Blake, and I had built the company from nothing over the past 12 years. We were brothers in all but blood. And Sarah, beautiful, brilliant Sarah, with her infectious laugh and her habit of leaving sticky notes with little hearts on my coffee mug, was the center of my universe. I don't remember driving to the hospital. Don't remember parking or walking through those sterile corridors. I just remember standing in that cold room, looking at a body on a table covered by a white sheet, and hearing someone ask me to identify her. They pulled back the sheet. It was Sarah's face, but wrong. Pale, still, empty of the life that had animated every expression. Her dark hair was matted with dried blood. There were burns on her face and arms. "That's her," I whispered. "That's my wife." The next 72 hours passed in a nightmarish blur. Marcus was there through all of it, his arm around my shoulders, his voice steady when mine broke. "I've got you, brother. Whatever you need. The company, the funeral arrangements, anything. I'll handle it." Marcus had always been like that. Reliable, loyal. When his own wife Rachel had died of cancer 3 years ago, Sarah and I had been there for him. Now he was returning the favor, and I was grateful beyond words. The funeral was set for Thursday. Gray skies, cold wind, exactly the kind of day that matched the hollow feeling in my chest. I stood at the cemetery in my black suit, staring at the closed casket covered in white roses, Sarah's favorites. Marcus stood beside me, his face drawn with grief. He gave a eulogy because I couldn't. My throat had closed up every time I tried to speak. Sarah Harrison was more than just David's wife, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. She was a friend to all of us. Brilliant, kind, always ready with a joke to lighten the mood. When Rachel died, Sarah was there for me every single day. She'd bring soup, sit with me, listen to me talk about my pain. I owe her everything. I watched him wipe tears from his eyes and felt my own fall. At least I wasn't alone in this grief. The funeral ended. People offered condolences I barely heard. Marcus drove me home. I was in no state to drive myself. He helped me into my house, the home Sarah and I had bought 3 years ago, now feeling enormous and empty. "You shouldn't be alone tonight," Marcus said. "I'll stay. We can order food, or I can just sit with you." "No," I managed to say. I need to be alone with her things, to feel close to her." He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Call me if you need anything. Anything at all, David. I mean it." After he left, I sat in the living room Sarah had decorated, surrounded by photos of us. Our wedding day, vacation in Maui, Christmas morning. Every image was a knife in my chest. My phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. Probably another condolence text I didn't have the energy to respond to. But something made me look at the screen, and my heart stopped. The message was from Sarah's number. "David, I'm not dead. He tried to kill me. Meet me at the old Riverside warehouse on Blake Street. Come alone. Come now. Please. I love you. S." Before I continue, I need you to do something. Watch this entire video till the very end. What happens next will absolutely shock you. Hit that like button right now, subscribe to Wilken Vengeance, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Have you ever received a message from someone you thought was gone? Share your story below. I read every single comment. Now, let me tell you what I did next. I stared at the phone, my hand shaking so violently, I nearly dropped it. This couldn't be real. Sarah was dead. I'd identified her body. I'd watched them lower her casket into the ground. But the message was there, glowing on my screen in cruel black letters. I'm not dead. My first thought was that someone was playing a sick joke. Some twisted person who'd gotten Sarah's phone from the wreckage and decided to torture me. But then I read it again. He tried to kill me. He? Who was he? Meet me at the old Riverside warehouse. That location meant something. The Riverside warehouse was one of our company's first projects, a renovation Marcus and I had done together when we were just starting out. It had been abandoned again for years, waiting for a new buyer. Only someone close to our business would know about that place. Only someone who knew our history. With trembling fingers, I called Sarah's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then went to voicemail. Her voice on the recording, bright, cheerful, alive, nearly broke me all over again. Hi, you've reached Sarah. Leave me a message and I'll call you back. I tried again. Same result. Tried texting back. Sarah, is this really you? What's happening? The message showed as delivered but not read. I sat there in our living room, my mind spinning. This was insane. Sarah was dead. I'd seen her body. The police had confirmed it. The accident report said the car had gone off a bridge, burst into flames. The body had been badly burned, but identifiable through dental records and her wedding ring. Her wedding ring. The one I placed on her finger 8 years ago. But what if? No, that was impossible. People don't fake their own deaths. This had to be some kind of cruel prank, or a hacker. My phone buzzed again. David, please. I don't have much time. If you ever love me, come to the warehouse. But tell no one, especially not Marcus. He's the one who tried to kill me. The world tilted. Marcus? My business partner, my closest friend, the man who'd stood beside me at the funeral with tears streaming down his face. Marcus had tried to kill Sarah? That made no sense. Marcus loved Sarah like a sister. He'd been devastated by her death, had helped me through every moment of these past 3 horrible days. Unless, I thought about the accident. Sarah had been driving home from a client meeting on Interstate 25. But which client? I realized I didn't know. She'd mentioned it that morning at breakfast, but I'd been distracted, reviewing contract bids for a new project. I thought about the body, badly burned, identified through dental records. But I hadn't actually looked closely at her hands, her features beyond that first glance. I'd been too devastated, and the burns had been so severe. What if it wasn't Sarah in that casket? The thought was insane. But this whole situation was insane. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and headed for the door. I had to know, had to see. Even if this was some elaborate cruel joke, I could not go. The Riverside warehouse was on the edge of Denver's industrial district, a 30-minute drive from my house. I made it in 20, speeding through red lights, my heart pounding the entire way. The warehouse looked exactly as I remembered it. A massive brick building with broken windows and a rusted chain-link fence. Marcus and I had renovated the interior 10 years ago, turning it into loft apartments. But the project had stalled when the developer went bankrupt, and the building had sat empty ever since. I parked in the shadows, killed the engine, and sat there for a moment. This was stupid, reckless. If someone was trying to lure me here to rob me, or worse, I was walking right into it. But if there was even a chance, even the smallest possibility, that Sarah was alive, I had to know. I got out of the car, my phone's flashlight cutting through the darkness. The fence had a gap we'd used during construction, still there after all these years. I slipped through, approached the loading dock entrance. The door was ajar. Sarah. I called out, my voice echoing in the empty space. Sarah, are you here? Silence. Then, from deep inside the building, a voice. David. It was her. I knew that voice better than my own. Sarah's voice, slightly hoarse, frightened, but unmistakably hers. I ran. Through the loading dock, past stacks of old construction materials we'd left behind, following her voice through the darkness. My flashlight beam bounced wildly as I sprinted, my breath coming in ragged gasps. And then I saw her. Sarah stood in what used to be the main loft space, illuminated by a battery-powered lantern. She looked thinner, her dark hair shorter, her face bruised. She was wearing jeans and a hoodie I didn't recognize, and her eyes, those beautiful green eyes, were filled with tears. "Sarah," I breathed. Then louder, disbelieving, "Sarah." I crossed the distance between us in seconds, pulling her into my arms. She was real, solid, warm, alive. "Ow!" I managed to choke out. "How are you alive? I saw your body. We buried you. I don't understand." She pulled back, tears streaming down her face. "It wasn't me in that car, David. It was someone else. And Marcus, he's the one who planned it all." We sat on an old stack of lumber, her hand gripped tightly in mine, as if I might wake up and find this was all a dream. The lantern cast shadows across her bruised face, and I could see she'd been through hell. "Start from the beginning," I said, my voice shaking. "Tell me everything." Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes distant, as if she were reliving a nightmare. "It started about 6 months ago," she began. "I started noticing things. Small things at first. Marcus asking me questions about the company finances when you weren't around. Wanted to know about insurance policies, beneficiaries, that kind of thing. Why would he ask you about that? I thought he was just being thorough. You know how he is, detail-oriented, always planning ahead. But then I found something." She pulled out a folded piece of paper from her pocket. This was in his office. I was dropping off some documents he'd asked me to give him, and I saw it on his desk. I unfolded the paper. It was a printout of a life insurance policy. My life insurance policy. The one the company had taken out on both Marcus and me as partners. Standard practice for businesses like ours. If one of us died, the other would receive a payout to keep the company running. $5 million. "I don't understand," I said. "This is normal. We both have these policies." "Look at the date," Sarah said quietly. The policy had been updated 3 months ago. The beneficiary had been changed. Instead of the standard split where the money would go to the company, it now went directly to Marcus personally. And there was a second policy I'd never seen before, one on me specifically, separate from the company policy. Another $5 million, also payable to Marcus. "He forged your signature," Sarah said. "I compared it to your real signature on other documents. It's close, but not perfect. He's been planning this for months, David. He was going to kill you and collect $10 million in insurance money." The words hung in the air like poison. My best friend, my brother in all but blood, planning to murder me for insurance money. "But the crash," I stammered. "You died. Not me. What happened?" Sarah's face crumpled. "He was supposed to kill you. The plan was to make it look like an accident, tamper with your car, maybe cause a crash during one of your site visits. But I found out. I confronted him. My blood ran cold." "You what?" "I was stupid," she said, fresh tears falling. I thought maybe I was wrong, that there was an explanation. So I went to his office last Tuesday, showed him the insurance documents, and asked him to explain." "Sarah." "He denied it at first. Said it was a mistake, that his assistant must have filed the wrong paperwork. But I could see it in his eyes, David. He knew I knew. And then he smiled. Actually smiled. And he said, 'Well, this complicates things.'" She was shaking now, and I pulled her closer. "He locked the door," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "Told me I'd left him no choice, that he'd worked too hard building this company to let me ruin everything. I tried to run, but he grabbed me. We fought. I managed to get away, ran out of the building, got in my car and drove. Where did you go?" "I didn't know. I was panicking. I called you, but you were in that meeting with the city planners. I left a voicemail, but I was crying so hard I don't know if you could even understand me. I pulled out my phone, scrolling back through my call log. There it was, a missed call from Sarah at 2:47 p.m. last Tuesday. I'd been in a 4-hour meeting that afternoon, phone on silent. I'd seen the notification later, but assumed she just wanted to chat, and I'd call her back after work. Except I never got the chance, because that was the day she died. What happened next? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I drove to the police station. I was going to tell them everything. But before I could get there, my car was hit from behind. Hard. I spun out, lost control. The car went off the road, crashed into a construction site. The next thing I knew, someone was pulling me out of the wreckage. Ooh, a woman. She was homeless, living in that construction site. She pulled me out just before the car caught fire. Saved my life. My mind was reeling. But the body in the car. Sarah's face went pale. There was someone else there. Another homeless woman. She was already dead, David. Overdose. The woman who saved me said. She died that morning. And when the car caught fire with her inside, the horror of it settled over me. A dead homeless woman, burned beyond recognition in Sarah's car. Identified as Sarah through circumstantial evidence while my actual wife watched from hiding. The woman who saved me. Her name was Rita. She helped me understand what was happening, Sarah continued. She'd seen Marcus following my car. Saw him ram into me from behind. When emergency services came, she kept me hidden, told me I needed to stay dead or whoever was trying to kill me would try again. Why didn't you go to the police then? Because Marcus got there first, she said bitterly. He arrived with the first responders. Must have been following behind after he crashed into me. I watched him from hiding as he told the police he was my brother, that he'd received a panic call from me before the crash. He identified the body as me, David. Cried real tears. And I realized, if I reveal myself then, it would be his word against mine. The insurance policies would disappear. The evidence would vanish. And I'd probably end up really dead. I stood up, pacing, my fist clenched. Marcus, the man who'd eaten dinner at our house countless times. Who'd been the best man at our wedding. Who I'd thought of as family. So you stayed hidden, I said. Let everyone think you were dead. Let me bury someone else thinking it was you. She grabbed my hand, pulling me back down beside her. I'm sorry. God, David, I'm so sorry. But I had to wait. Had to gather evidence. Rita helped me. Let me stay in her shelter. Helped me piece together what Marcus was really doing. What do you mean? The insurance fraud isn't the only thing, Sarah said. I've been digging into the company finances. Marcus has been embezzling for over a year. Small amounts at first, then larger. He's been setting up shell companies, funneling money through fake contractors. I have documentation of everything. Bank records, forged invoices, the insurance policies. But I needed time to gather it all, to build an airtight case. She pulled out a USB drive. Everything's on here. Enough to put him away for decades. But David, we have to be careful. He thinks I'm dead and you're devastated. That gives us an advantage. I stared at the USB drive, my mind struggling to process everything. My wife wasn't dead. My best friend was a murderer and a thief. Everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. Why contact me now? I asked. Why not wait until you had him completely cornered? Her expression darkened. Because he's planning to kill you next. I hacked into his email. The woman at the shelter, Rita, she's amazing with computers. Marcus has been communicating with someone, a man named Victor Reese. They're planning to make it look like you committed suicide. Grief-stricken over losing me. They're going to do it tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Less than 24 hours away. We need to go to the police, I said. Right now. Show them everything. Not yet, Sarah said urgently. If we go now, Marcus will lawyer up, destroy evidence. We need to catch him in the act. But David, you can't let him know that you know. You have to act normal. Grieving, distracted, vulnerable. Can you do that? Could I look my would-be murderer in the eye and pretend everything was fine? Could I shake the hand of the man who tried to kill my wife? I looked at Sarah, alive, real, here, and knew the answer. Yes, I said. I can do whatever it takes to make sure he pays for what he's done. We spent the next hour in that abandoned warehouse, plotting. Sarah had a laptop hidden there. Rita, the homeless woman who'd saved her, had apparently been an IT professional before addiction destroyed her life. She taught Sarah how to hack, how to trace digital footprints, how to build an evidence trail that couldn't be ignored. Rita's brilliant, Sarah said, pulling up files on the laptop. She helped me access Marcus's email, his bank accounts, everything. Look at this. The screen filled with emails between Marcus and someone named Victor Reese. The messages were coded at first, talking about the project and eliminating obstacles. But as I scrolled through them, they became more explicit. The primary target has to look natural. One email from Marcus read, "Suicide is cleanest. Grief over losing wife. Financial stress from business. We make it convincing." My hands clenched into fists. He was talking about killing me as casually as discussing a construction project. Victor Reese is a professional, Sarah explained. Former military, now works as a consultant for people who need problems to disappear. Marcus found him through some dark web forum. How did you even access this? Rita. Like I said, she's amazing with computers. She showed me how to clone Marcus's phone, mirror his accounts. We've been watching everything he does for the past week. I scrolled through more emails. Marcus had paid Victor $50,000 up front, with another $50,000 to be paid after my death. The plan was detailed. I'd be found in my home office, a bottle of pills and whiskey nearby, a suicide note on my computer. They'd even drafted the note. "I can't bear the pain of losing Sarah." I read aloud, my voice hollow. "The world is empty without her. I'm sorry to everyone I'm leaving behind, but I need to be with her again." The words were meant to sound like me and my grief. And the horrifying thing was, a week ago, they might have been true. The life insurance has a suicide clause, Sarah explained. Normally they won't pay out for suicide within the first 2 years of a policy. But Marcus backdated the policy documents. As far as the insurance company knows, these policies have been in place for 5 years. They'll pay out. How much has he stolen from the company? Sarah pulled up a spreadsheet. Over $2 million over the past 18 months. He's been careful, spreading it across dozens of fake contractors and vendors. But when you add it all up, I stare at the numbers. $2 million. Plus $10 million in insurance money if he succeeded in killing me. $12 million total. What? I asked, the question bursting out of me. Marcus and I split profits equally. The company's doing well. He's already making good money. Why risk everything for this? Sarah's expression was sad. I found something else. Rachel, his wife who died 3 years ago. She didn't just die of cancer. She had a massive life insurance policy too. One that Marcus took out 6 months before she got sick. The implication hung in the air like a noose. You think he killed her too? I think he poisoned her, Sarah said quietly. Slowly, over months. Made it look like aggressive cancer. I found searches on his computer from 4 years ago, looking up poisons that mimic cancer symptoms, researching undetectable methods. The life insurance paid him $3 million when she died. I felt sick. Rachel had been Sarah's friend, had been kind and warm and funny, and Marcus had murdered her for money, then used the payout to seem like a grieving widower. He's a monster, I whispered. Yes, Sarah agreed. And tomorrow night, he's planning to kill you too, unless we stop him. The plan we came up with was risky, but it was all we had. I would go home, act devastated and vulnerable. Marcus would reach out tomorrow to check on me. He always did, playing the devoted friend. I'd tell him I was struggling, maybe mention feeling suicidal. Make it easy for him to execute his plan. But instead of being alone and vulnerable, I'd be wired. Sarah had recording equipment. More gifts from Rita's surprising skill set. We'd capture Marcus and Victor in the act, get them on tape admitting to everything. Then we'd call the police with evidence they couldn't ignore. What about Rita? I asked. This woman who saved you and helped you. We should help her. Sarah smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her tonight. I promised her that when this is over, we'd get her into rehab, help her get back on her feet. She saved my life, David. I owe her everything. Before I left the warehouse, I held Sarah close one more time. I thought I'd lost you. I whispered into her hair. I thought I'd never hold you again. You haven't lost me, she said fiercely. And tomorrow, we're going to make Marcus pay for everything he's done. This is getting insane. If you're still watching, smash that like button right now. Subscribe to Wilken Vengeance if you haven't already. And comment below where you're watching from and what time it is there. Let me know if you'd have the courage to face your would-be killer like this. Now, let me tell you what happened when I went home. I drove home through empty streets, my mind spinning. Sarah was alive. Marcus was a murderer. Tomorrow night, I was supposed to die. Instead, I was going to help trap my best friend. The house felt different now. Every shadow seemed threatening. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump. Marcus had been here countless times. How many of those visits had he been planning my death? I forced myself to go through the motions of grief. Made coffee I didn't drink. Stared at photos of Sarah. When exhaustion finally hit around 3 a.m., I collapsed onto the couch, unable to face the bedroom we'd shared. My phone woke me at 9 a.m. Marcus. Hey brother, just checking on you. How are you holding up? I made my voice rough, broken. Not great. Keep thinking I hear her in the house. This is hell, Marcus. I know, man. Listen, I'm gonna come by later, okay? Bring some food, we can talk. You shouldn't be alone. Yeah, okay. Thanks. After we hung up, I texted Sarah on the burner phone she'd given me. He took the bait. Coming over tonight. Her response. Good. Rita is getting the equipment ready. We'll be in position by 6 p.m. The day crawled by. I called in sick to work. Easy enough. No one expected me back so soon after the funeral. I rehearsed what I'd say to Marcus, how I'd act vulnerable enough to make his plans seem easy. At 5 p.m., Rita showed up at my back door. She was older than I'd expected, maybe 50, with weathered features and sharp, intelligent eyes. She carried a backpack filled with recording equipment. You must be David, she said, her voice hoarse from years of hard living. Sarah talks about you nonstop. Let's get you wired up. She was efficient, placing tiny microphones in my living room, my office, even my kitchen. If this Marcus guy tries anything, we'll catch it, she said. I've got receivers set up in 3 locations. Everything's backed up to the cloud in real time. He won't be able to destroy the evidence. Thank you, I said, for everything, for saving Sarah. Rita shrugged, uncomfortable with gratitude. She'd have done the same for me. Besides, I hate bullies. And this Marcus? He's the worst kind of bully. At 6:30 p.m., Marcus arrived with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. He looked exactly as he always did, concerned, caring, like the best friend anyone could ask for. It took everything I had not to punch him. You look terrible, he said, which was probably true. I hadn't shaved, was still in sweatpants and a t-shirt. Feel terrible, I mumbled. We sat in the living room, the Chinese food growing cold between us. I picked at it without appetite while Marcus talked. I know nothing I say makes this better, he said. But Sarah wouldn't want you to fall apart like this. She'd want you to live, to be happy. The hypocrisy was stunning. This from a man who tried to kill her. I don't know how to live without her, I said, letting my voice break. Every morning I wake up, and for just a second, I forget she's gone. Then reality hits, and it's like losing her all over again. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. It gets easier. When Rachel died, I felt the same way. But you survive. You find a new normal. Because you killed her, I thought. You murdered your wife and collected the insurance money, and now you're going to try to do the same to me. Sometimes I continued, following the script Sarah and I had planned. Sometimes I think about just ending it, being with her again. Would that be so wrong? Marcus's eyes sharpened. David, no. You can't think like that. Why not? What do I have to live for? The company? Who cares? Sarah was everything. Listen to me, Marcus said, his voice firm. You're grieving. You're not thinking clearly. This feeling will pass. But I could see the calculation in his eyes. I was making it easy for him. Talking about suicide, showing how broken I was. He just needed to help me along. I should probably get some sleep, I said, standing unsteadily. Thanks for coming by. Of course, Marcus said. I'll check on you tomorrow, okay? And David, don't do anything stupid. Promise me. I promise, I lied. He left around 8 p.m. I watched his car pull away, then immediately texted Sarah. Phase 1 complete. He bought it. Her response. Good. Now we wait for him to make his move. The hours crawled by. Rita had assured me the equipment would capture everything, but I couldn't shake my anxiety. What if Marcus didn't come? What if he'd somehow figured out it was a trap? At 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Can't sleep either. Want to grab a drink. Interesting. He wanted me out of the house, in public. That didn't fit Sarah's prediction that he'd make it look like a suicide at home. I called Sarah. He wants to meet for drinks. That's not the plan. It's Stick with him, she said. We need him to incriminate himself. Read his trackers on your phone. We'll follow. I met Marcus at a bar we'd been to 100 times. The Copper Door, a place where Denver's construction crowd gathered after work. He was already there, nursing a whiskey. Figured you'd still be up, he said when I joined him. Grief doesn't keep business hours. We drank in silence for a while. Then Marcus said, I've been thinking about something. The company. What happens to it now? What do you mean? You're half. Sarah's gone, so her shares revert to you. But you're not in any shape to run things. Maybe it's time to talk about restructuring. You could step back, take time to heal. I could buy out your shares, give you enough money to live comfortably without the stress. So that was his angle. Get me to sell my half of the company, then kill me anyway, and keep both the business and the insurance money. I don't know. I said, play my part. Right now I can barely think straight. Of course. No pressure. Just think about it. He signaled for another round. You know what? Let's get out of here. Go somewhere quieter. I know a place. Every instinct screamed danger. But I had to follow through. Sure, I said. We drove in separate cars, which gave me a chance to text Sarah. He's taking me somewhere. Still tracking. Yes. We're right behind you. Be careful. Marcus led me to an industrial park on the outskirts of Denver. Empty at this hour, just dark warehouses and loading docks. He parked near an abandoned office building I didn't recognize. Why here? I asked as we got out of our cars. Privacy. Marcus said. We need to have a real conversation, David. About what comes next. We walked into the building. It was completely empty, just concrete floors and support pillars. And standing in the center of the space was a man I didn't know. Tall, muscular, with cold eyes. He wore black tactical clothing and held something in his hands. A syringe. David, this is Victor, Marcus said, and his voice had changed. No longer friendly, just flat and businesslike. I'm sorry it had to come to this. What are you doing? I backed away, but Victor moved to block my exit. Well, I should have done weeks ago, Marcus said. You see, you were supposed to be the one in that car crash, not Sarah. But she got suspicious, started asking questions. So I had to improvise. You killed her, I said, and it wasn't entirely acting. The rage in my voice was real. I had to. She knew too much. But honestly, it worked out. You've been so devastated, so broken. Makes this next part easier. What next part? Suicide, Marcus said calmly. You're going to overdose tonight. Victor here will make sure it looks convincing. The grief was too much. Everyone will understand. Victor stepped closer, syringe raised. This won't hurt. You'll just go to sleep. Why? I asked, backing against a concrete pillar. We were friends. Brothers. Why would you do this? Because I'm tired of splitting everything, Marcus said. The company, the profits, the credit. I built this business as much as you did, but everyone calls it Harrison and Blake like you're the important one. And when Rachel died, when I got that insurance money, I realized something. Dead partners are much more profitable than living ones. You killed Rachel too. His smile was chilling. She was getting expensive, always wanting more, complaining about the lifestyle. The cancer was surprisingly easy to fake. A little arsenic over time, some well-placed suggestions to doctors. By the time I diagnosed her, it was too late. $3 million, and everyone felt sorry for me. You're insane. I'm practical. And you, David, have outlived your usefulness. Victor lunged at me with a syringe. I dodged, but he was fast. His hand grabbed my arm, pulling me toward him. The needle came closer to my neck. And then the lights came on. Blinding spotlights from every corner of the warehouse. Police officers poured in from exits I hadn't even seen, guns drawn, shouting commands. Denver police. Freeze. Drop the weapon. Victor released me immediately, the syringe clattering to the floor. Marcus spun around, his face going white as he saw the dozens of armed officers surrounding us. And walking through the front entrance, flanked by 2 detectives, was Sarah. Marcus's eyes went wide. No, that's impossible. You're dead. I saw your body. Wrong body, Sarah said coldly. Wrong woman. Wrong plan, Marcus. And now you're finished. One of the detectives stepped forward. Marcus Blake, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, embezzlement, and the murder of Rachel Blake. Victor Reese, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder. They were handcuffed immediately, read their rights. Marcus kept staring at Sarah like she was a ghost. How he breathed. How did you survive? Doesn't matter, she said. What matters is we got everything. Every word he just said was recorded. The police have all the evidence, the insurance fraud, the embezzlement, the emails to Victor, everything. You're going to prison for the rest of your life. As they led Marcus away, he looked at me one last time. I would have split it with you. If you just stayed out of my way, we could have been rich. I already had everything I needed, I said. You just couldn't see it. The next few weeks were a blur of police statements, lawyer meetings, and media attention. The story was everywhere. Wife fakes death to catch killer husband's business partner. The headlines screamed. Sarah and I couldn't leave the house without reporters swarming us. The trial came quickly. Marcus and Victor both tried to make deals, but the evidence was overwhelming. Rita's recordings were crystal clear. The emails were damning. The financial evidence of embezzlement was irrefutable. And when the prosecution played Marcus's confession from that night in the warehouse, she was getting expensive, always wanting more, complaining about the lifestyle. The cancer was surprisingly easy to fake. The jury took less than 3 hours to convict him on all counts. Marcus got life without parole for Rachel's murder and the attempted murder of Sarah and me. Victor got 30 years for conspiracy and attempted murder. Throughout the trial, Marcus never looked at me, never showed remorse. In his mind, I think he still believed he'd done nothing wrong, that he was entitled to the money, to the company, to whatever he wanted. The company had to be dissolved. Harrison and Blake Construction couldn't survive the scandal. Our clients abandoned us. Our investors pulled out. Our reputation was destroyed. Everything we'd built over 12 years fell apart in a matter of weeks. But I didn't care, because Sarah was alive. We sold our house. Too many bad memories. Too many nights I'd spent grieving for a wife who was actually hiding in an abandoned warehouse. Moved to Boulder, started fresh. Rita came with us. Sarah kept her promise. We got Rita into the best rehab facility in Colorado, paid for her treatment, helped her find a job when she got out. She's been sober for 18 months now, working as a cybersecurity consultant. She and Sarah have coffee every week. I saved her life, Rita told me once. And she saved mine right back. That's how it should work. I started a new business. Harrison Design, just me, specializing in residential architecture. Small projects, nothing like the massive commercial developments I'd done with Marcus. But honest work, clean work, work that doesn't come with betrayal hidden in the foundation. Sarah went back to school, got her teaching license. She works with at-risk youth now, helping kids who've been through trauma. I know what it's like to feel hunted, she told me. To feel like you're not safe anywhere. I want to help kids who feel that way. We got married again. A small ceremony in the mountains, just us and Rita and a handful of close friends. Sarah wore a simple white dress and carried wildflowers. When the officiant asked if I took Sarah to be my wife, I said yes with more certainty than I'd felt about anything in my life. I already lost you once, I told her during our vows. I'm never letting go again. She cried. I cried. Rita cried and pretended she wasn't. It's been 2 years now. 2 years since the night I got that impossible text message. 2 years since my wife returned from the dead. 2 years since my best friend tried to kill me and failed. Sometimes I still have nightmares. I dream that I'm back in that warehouse, that Victor's syringe finds my neck, that the lights never come on and Sarah never appears. I wake up gasping, reaching for Sarah in the dark, needing to feel her there beside me. She's always there, always real, always alive. Last week, we got a letter from Marcus, forwarded through his lawyer from prison. Sarah wanted to throw it away without reading it, but I was curious, morbidly curious about what he could possibly have to say after everything. The letter was short. David, I've had a lot of time to think in here. About what I did, what I became. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't forgive myself. But I want you to know something. When I stood at Sarah's funeral and cried, those tears were real. When I told you I'd be there for you, I meant it in that moment. I'm not trying to justify what I did. I'm just trying to understand how I became someone who could plan to kill his best friend. I think it started small, a little envy here, a little resentment there. And then Rachel died, and the money was so easy, and I started thinking about what else I could have. By the time I was planning your death, I'd convinced myself it was justified, that I deserved more, that you wouldn't even miss what you had. I was wrong about everything, and now I have the rest of my life to regret it. I hope you and Sarah are happy. I hope you've built something better than what we had, and I hope you never become what I became, someone who couldn't see what he had until he destroyed it all. Marcus. I read the letter 3 times. Sarah read it once, and then burned it in our fireplace. He wants absolution, she said, watching the paper turn to ash. Wants us to feel sorry for him, to understand him. But I don't care about his journey to becoming a monster. I only care that he's locked away and we're safe. She was right. But part of me, a small part, mourned the friend Marcus had been before the greed consumed him. Or maybe mourned the friend I thought he was, before I learned the truth about who he'd always been. We don't talk about Marcus much anymore. Don't think about him if we can help it. But his presence lingers in the choices we make. Sarah checks in with Rita constantly, making sure she's okay, that she's not falling back into old patterns. I'm hyper-vigilant about the people I work with now, probably too much so. Trust doesn't come easy anymore, but we're building something new, something that's ours alone, with no hidden agendas, no secret resentments, no insurance policies taken out on each other's lives. Last night, Sarah and I sat on our porch watching the sun set over the Flatirons. She had her head on my shoulder, my arm around her waist. Everything was quiet and peaceful and ordinary in the best possible way. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't figured it out?" she asked quietly. "If I died in that crash for real?" "Every day," I admitted. "I'd be dead too by now." He would have made it look like suicide, collected the insurance money, and moved on. Maybe married Vanessa, or someone like her. Build a whole new life on our graves. But he didn't, Sarah said. Because I was suspicious, because Rita saved me, because we fought back, because you were brave enough to fake your own death and trust that I believe you were alive. She turned to look at me. "I always knew you believed me. You loved me enough to hope, even when hope seemed impossible." That's what he never understood. That's why he lost. I kissed her then, this woman who'd died and come back, who'd hidden in an abandoned warehouse to save both our lives, who'd faced down her would-be killer with nothing but evidence and courage. "I love you," I said, "in this life and whatever comes after." "I love you too," she said, "and I promise, no more faking my death. Once was enough." We laughed, and in that moment, with Sarah alive and safe in my arms, the nightmare finally felt truly over. My wife died in a car crash caused by my business partner. At her funeral, he stood crying beside me. That night, I got a text from her number. "I'm not dead. He tried to kill me. Meet me at the old warehouse now." I drove there, and what I saw, Sarah alive, bruised but breathing, made my blood run cold. Not with fear, with determination. Because Marcus Blake had tried to kill my wife, had tried to kill me, had murdered Rachel, had stolen millions, had built his entire life on lies and betrayal. And we were going to make sure he paid for every single crime. The warehouse, the trap, the confession, the arrest. It all happened because Sarah refused to stay dead. Because Rita refused to stay silent. Because I refused to believe that the text message was impossible. Sometimes the impossible is just the truth waiting to be proven. And sometimes the dead come back to save the living. If you made it to the end of this story, you're amazing. Smash that like button, subscribe to Wilken Vengeance for more incredible stories like this, and comment below where you're watching from and what time it is there. Tell me, what would you have done in David's position? Would you have been brave enough to face Marcus knowing he tried to kill you? Share your thoughts below. I read every single comment. Thank you for watching, and remember, on Wilken Vengeance, betrayal always meets justice. See you in the next story.